is The Angry Octopus, your source for all things Red Wings. Here are your hosts, Aaron Habel and Aiden Wolf.
So, Jays in the World Series, big games coming up. Just honoring them a little bit with. I have to take the hat off though. This thing's covering my eyes. So,
man, just tilt your face up a little bit. You know what? The great thing is, the Blue Jays had to go through the Mariners, right?
Yeah,
and the Mariners,
I didn't think they were going to beat.
Yeah, no, the Mariners look solid. They beat Detroit. Detroit had them on the ropes a few times in that final game. Couldn't do it.
Nope.
And then the Blue Jays did do it. So I'm feeling very confident about the Blue Jays. And I know we talked about this, but yeah, I'm sticking with the Blue Jays. That's my pick.
All right, I just prop the hat up a little bit. Get the eye. Yeah, okay, I can do that. One of the best teams at comebacks this year was the Toronto Blue Jays. They came, man. They broke hearts all year. They would get to the ninth inning and then just crush you. Walk off win. Seeing them go to the first World Series since '93 warms my heart. I remember watching back in '93. And I remember when I watched this, it was the exact same feeling. I feel bad for Mariners fans. This was supposed to be the first trip. Just couldn't get it done. And that game I thought it was heartbreak the whole way, man. I thought when Springer hit the home run, it was just weight off the shoulders. Anyways.
Yeah.
Okay, so I got the hat. You can see my eyes. Perfect. Okay,
don't forget, they went through the Yankees to get there, too.
Yeah,
those are some high scoring games.
Yankees don't want you to forget that. Damn it.
No.
All right, so starting out with the stupid stat of the day. We're going back. We've got 4 games to cover by the Detroit Red Wings. They had the gauntlet to get through, and 5-game winning streak ends on the worst team possible. Not the worst team possible, but at least in the East.
I have thoughts on it. No, not the worst team possible.
No, God, no. Stupid stat of the day. This, if you haven't seen this, from DetroitHockey.net. This guy started doing it quite a while ago. It just came to my attention this year. And apparently it's kind of been blowing up for him, which let's just shine some light on this guy who has been doing a great job of just getting some ridiculous stuff. This one is from before the Panthers game. The Red Wings are unbeaten all time in games played against the Florida Panthers on a Wednesday in October, and I'm happy to report they are still unbeaten all time in games played against the Florida Panthers on a Wednesday in October. This game I found straight out of the gate, I wasn't getting the same vibes from Florida that I'm used to seeing, like the peskiness, the just outright jerk nature of the Florida Panthers. And I know it's early in the season. There's a lot of points to be claimed on the table, but I feel like maybe this is also a concept of older guys taking a little longer to warm up to the game than the younger guys already have their legs under them. But I didn't feel like Florida was icing the same emotion on from the team that you're used to a little bit later on in the year. How did you see this game breakdown, Aaron?
Yeah, they weren't there like they normally are. I mean, that's a powerhouse team, Stanley Cup champions. They've got, I would argue, one of the best well-rounded teams we've ever seen. Phenomenal up and down. But you got to remember they had a couple of major guys out. And then you have a Detroit team that has been waiting, trying to make their mark. And so I think it was just timing, really. And they also have Brad Marchand, who is he's what they are, but I think he doubles what they have. And he makes up for it later in a game not too long ago where he rips apart a guy's helmet. I think Rasmus Dahlin's helmet.
Yeah.
And that was quite a scene. If you haven't looked it up, look it up.
Yeah, it's a fantastic emotional player that I love the Brad Marchands of this league. I love the guys that literally the nicest guy in the world just gets on the ice and wants to destroy everybody's day. They want to see people cry. And that it's just so awesome to see that. And usually the Florida Panthers as a team embody that across. And I felt like they weren't horrible by no means playing Detroit, but I felt like Detroit they ran that game. There was no question about who was winning that from puck drop. And it was really cool to see like the youth kind of surging forward. And it kind of it was showing a lot of what was to come from the week. I felt like Florida is going to be that team come February that you're going to see that a little bit more of that grit and snarl come out. And it's going to be interesting to see how, and we'll talk about it a bit later about Detroit and this kind of beautiful start they had and whether or not they can maintain that throughout the year. But I'm going to be curious to see how those young kids start to deal with teams that have a bit more snarl, that have a little bit more oomph in their step and are willing to put you on your butt. So,
yeah, we're looking for that, but I think they've already gotten a taste of it. And I like what I'm seeing so far. Now, granted, it's early. There's something to be said about stamina here. And I think that's what the Wings are really keeping an eye on. And you and I had a conversation off air about that stamina and can these guys keep it up? How many minutes are they doing per game? And some of these young guys, they're putting in a lot of minutes.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's great to see because they're developing their careers in front of you, and they're obviously making mistakes, and this is the safe space for them to make those mistakes before there truly is stuff on the line for them. And you see like Sandin Pellikka's first goal coming up. We'll talk about that in a second. Finney just filling out into a hell of a player and really, really liking that whole Larkin Finney 1-2 combo. It's been a revelation to see, and I'm getting vibes from this team kind of like the 2016-2017 Leafs when you started to see all the youth come in and they weren't supposed to make the playoffs and they did, and they faced off against Washington in that first round. This is something that I'm really curious to see if this team can kind of maintain, and if you're going to see some of these younger kids step into the role of not just like great player, but more like team leader and take over from some of the, still great talent. When you get Kane back and, you've got Larkin leading the way, like he's been an absolute beast through the beginning.
Yeah, star of the week.
Star of the week. Just, what is he, 15 points already this season? Just absolutely on fire. And I mean, the young kids are getting a true lesson in exactly how you do this stuff. So,
but this is one of the stories that I've been paying attention to that I didn't even know was going to develop, which is in the years past, people have questioned whether Dylan Larkin was the guy. Is he the real captain of the Wings? Should he be captain? Should they be looking at giving it to someone else? And we're seeing it now. All he needed these young guys to come in. Now he's being a mentor. Not just that. I mean, Finney talks about how much Larkin's talking to him, telling him about what he's doing right, maybe helping him tweak his game a little. And not only that, but when these guys are scoring their first goals, like Sandin Pellikka or Finney, he's racing over to get that puck for him. It's a big moment.
Yeah, and it's just showing the leadership. But it's hard to lead a team that doesn't win, man. Like it's everyone's like, well, we need leadership. Well, we also need to be able to put the puck in the net.
Yeah, they need talent.
People to lead. Yeah, and it's really cool to see them come together like this. Now, moving on, we've got the Lightning game, and I kind of spoiled this surprise already a little bit earlier, but this is the stupid stat of the day for that. The Red Wings unbeaten all time in their first game of the season against the Tampa Bay Lightning when it occurs at home and at any time after their first game of the season against the Florida Panthers.
I mean, I don't know how the guy finds this, but he's a wizard in my mind.
But it's also like, it's first game against Tampa only after they've played the Florida Panthers. That is a stat that is going to go down in history because still unbeaten all time in their first game of the season against Tampa after playing the Florida Panthers. This one was a little bit more of an even race. I found this game was a lot. I found Gibson caught his stride here and really paid back whatever transgressions he had in that first game of the season. I feel like John Gibson went, okay, I got this. And I think this was the first time for me that I was able to look at Gibson and go, okay, he's not going to be a problem. This isn't going to be a concern. John Gibson earned his paycheck against the Tampa Bay Lightning. Absolutely.
Well, in Talbot, he's the one that played in that Florida game. And then Gibson comes in on this game. And I believe what it is, look, they worked hard to get this guy. They believe in him. And maybe that first game, you know, if you listen to the coach, McClellan's going to tell you that's not even on Gibson. Like the team just fell apart in that game. So he had no support. And as a goaltender, you can feel that. So I just feel like what they did was they brought him back. It's early times into the season. Let's get him out there and get some confidence going. And who better to do it against than a team that they've struggled against historically? So he comes out, gives a great effort. It's a 2-1 win for the Wings. And he looks solid. And like you, I'm feeling like, well, maybe my concerns about goaltending are unfounded because so far, I love what I'm seeing out of Talbot and Gibson.
Yeah, and do you consider possibly there's any outside chance, even though grizzled veteran he is, that maybe this was just like day one nerves, new team? Like this is the first time he's ever been in any other colors since the beginning of his career. Like this is a massive change going from Anaheim to Detroit. I wonder how much of this might have been just nerves.
Yeah, I don't know. I want to say no just because he's such a veteran. But yeah, it's possible. Maybe he felt a little bit of that pressure. And then after that, he got his loss out of the way and said, you know what, I'm just going to go to work. One thing I did mention on a previous episode was I believe he just needs another chance. And he got that and he delivered. So there's a reason they wanted him. And I believe the Red Wings know what they're doing.
Absolutely. And the one thing I noticed about this game against the Lightning is the Florida team not really, and I hate saying that they didn't show up, they just weren't themselves. I felt like Tampa was a better test. Tampa I felt was a lot hungrier. As we've seen, they've fallen to the bottom of the standings. That is not the Tampa Bay Lightning. By no means is the beginning of this season any indication of what you can expect from Tampa this year, by any means. However, you can also tell that they know that they've got to put more work into their season. They're getting older. They've got to get a little scrappier. They've got to like really challenge. This stuff isn't going to come naturally to them as it has in years past. And I feel like they really did push the Wings up against the ropes for a good portion of that game. And the Red Wings responded very, very well. Was there any point in that game where you were concerned that the Wings weren't going to win that game?
Concerned? Yeah, I think there's always a concern because Tampa Bay had such a push. Like I said, historically, they've done very well against the Red Wings. But, you know, it's that overtime. That's what we watch hockey for, are those moments where it's all on the line. And that overtime with Larkin getting that breakaway, I mean, it's just brilliant move. So I feel like it's just restoring that faith in the Wings that they've lost over time. I mean, it's been since the 2016-2017 season that anybody had any faith in them. And now this season, they're off to a great start. And just seeing how Larkin is producing, it's like he knows this is the time. We're doing it now. Not to say they're going to necessarily win the cup, but now he actually looks around and he sees people he can trust and believe in. And of course, they're being asked, what about these young guys? No, they have trust in them too. Those guys are showing up. And I'm really just impressed with when they do make mistakes, the things they're doing right completely shadow any mistakes they're making.
Yeah. Okay, we're gonna move on really quickly here. We do actually have quite a bit to cover.
Oh yeah.
After we kind of touch on these games, Red Wings unbeaten all time in games against the Edmonton Oilers when riding a winning streak of exactly 4 games.
Oh.
I mean, again, and what I love to see is all of these stupid stats of the day are paying off. That, at least for now.
And I love that they're called stupid stats.
He knows what he has.
No, but it's brilliant. It's brilliant.
It's absolutely brilliant. This is another one of those games. This I felt was a lot like the Florida game. Connor McGee's is not firing on all cylinders. He's coming out of the gate, brand new contract. I I'm not exactly sure what's going on in his brain. I know he's not happy with his performance to begin this year. And when Connor isn't firing, the rest of the team is struggling as well. They're struggling to score goals. Again, though, I don't think it was a pushover. This is still the Edmonton Oilers. They went to the Stanley Cup Finals last year. Stuart Skinner might not be the best goaltender we've ever seen. However, he's still the goaltender that took them to the Stanley Cup Finals last year. I found this game was another one of those where Detroit just outclassed them. But I'm going to be curious to see when Edmonton catches their stride, and they will at some point, what this rematch is going to entail. What do you think?
I think they did this last year where Edmonton got off to a pretty bad start.
Oh, they do it every year.
But think about this. They have a powerhouse of a team also. So they have Draisaitl and they have Gensel. They have Connor McDavid, Connor McJesus. So when you look at this team, all they need to do is get on a bit of a roll, and they can make up a lot of ice really fast.
Yeah, and this is a team that likes to overwhelm you with speed, talent, goals. They're good on the rush. Obviously, they're good on the rush. You've got Connor McDavid, the crossover champion of the world. But when you see their October returns, and last year, the year prior, they keep doing this whole like stutter through October. I mean, they got their coach fired a couple of years back because they were Jay Woodcroft. They were so bad. They fire the coach and okay, we'll go to the Stanley Cup Finals. It's all good.
Yeah.
This team is a notorious for underperforming, so it's not all that surprising they come out of the gate like that. But it's also like these are the games that you have to capitalize on as a team. You're up against a team like Edmonton that does underperform to that level constantly. You need to capitalize on that. If you're losing those games, if you're the one team that's falling to the pathetic Oilers of October, that's not a good sign for you as a team. And I think the young legs propelled Detroit through this game, and I think it was another like goaltending but young youth movement that really got them going here.
Yeah, but I also think that game was pretty cool because we got to see Finney really break out here, and it felt like he was on fire in that game, at least to me. And then it was brilliant because I don't know if you heard about this, but Larkin had it either in his mind or he was trying to help Finney. But the third goal that Detroit scored, Larkin shot at the net, and he had Finney between him and another player and the goaltender, and the puck went through. Now, if you watch it, it doesn't actually hit Finney anywhere, right? It doesn't hit his stick. It actually hits the skate of the other team, I believe. Now, Larkin still was trying to argue that it was Finney's goal, and if you think about it, if he'd gotten that, he's looking at a hat trick.
Yeah.
So he'd have his first goal and his first hat trick same game. And I don't know if Larkin really knew or not, or if he's just like, I want this kid to get all the credit because he's really just doing a great job for us.
Yeah, and part of the storyline of teams like this is that's what kind of moves the momentum of the team, right? Is the kids feeling good about themselves. They're feeling indestructible, and you know, it was just a matter of time before Finney got his first goal and then his second goal. And I think that's something that Larkin understands. He understands that these kids need to feel good. They need to feel like they're getting on the ice and they can do no wrong. And it's really smart for a veteran like that to really pump the wheels of the kids around him, because he knows that's the future. If this team is going anywhere, you need those young kids that are on the team right now to overperform, to feel like they're on fire. And yeah, Finney, I think he's beyond surprising anyone anymore. Do you think he's actually like, he's still good? I mean, definitely you've got some trophies at the end of the year that he might be going for, but do you think there's still a surprise in this kid? Do you think anybody's still he's under expectation for anyone else?
I know it's hard to say because he's playing on the first line. You know, if you're playing with Larkin and Raymond, No one would have predicted this. Nobody. I don't even know if Finney could have predicted this, but I know that Larkin knows what losing's like. And there's something about that losing mentality that he went through for years. And that's why we saw the blow up last year. You know, after the season was over, Larkin just went away and was complaining about how the team didn't do much at trade deadlines, didn't trade for a certain guy, didn't bring in new blood. And he was really frustrated. And you listen to the general manager talk about Yzerman, and he handles it like he does everything with maturity. And he's just like, we talk all the time. We are open with each other. And he said, I wouldn't have handled it that way, but that's who he is. And I think Yzerman appreciates the passion that Larkin really does have. A lot of people don't notice it. He's got it. And we saw him kind of blow up last year, but now there's a look on his face now with this season. He knows they have something. So like you said, he's investing in these youngsters, and he keeps telling them, like, you're doing great. Keep going out there and killing them. And they're going to keep doing it. And as long as everyone's believing, they got a real shot.
Yeah. Not to be the Debbie Downer, but we did have a game last night.
Yeah.
Buffalo playing as only Buffalo can. Red Wings are unbeaten. The stupid stat of the day. All time in games played on a Wednesday night at KeyBank Center, with Detroit playing again the next day. This was the first of a back-to-back. As a time of filming, Detroit does have a game coming up tonight. I hate these games. I've never enjoyed, as a Leafs fan, okay, and this is something near and dear to my heart. There's nothing like seeing your team hit the ice against a sure win, or at least a you should win. Not a sure win. There's no sure win in the NHL unless you're playing the Sharks. But there are should wins. These are the like, guys, you should have this. And last night, Buffalo defied the odds and broke that 5-game winning streak. What did you see in this game, outside of some stellar goaltending from Buffalo? What did you see in this game that went wrong for Detroit?
Well, I will tell you, going into this game, I was nervous because the Red Wings were on a 5-game win streak. I'm a big believer in this. I've seen it. I watch it in combat sports. I see it in hockey. But when you're riding a streak like that, it can be difficult to keep a streak going because somewhere you're going to lose. Now, against Buffalo, I want to give them credit because we talked before, maybe they're being mismanaged, but they've got a pretty damn good team. There are players on that team a lot of teams would love to have. I can think of several. So when you look at this game, what they did was they came in to that game wanting to make a statement, and who better to do it against than a surging Detroit team who's on a win streak. And what do you have to do? Well, I think they went in with we need to be smart and we need to outwork them. So on every shift, it seemed like every shift from Buffalo, they were just really taking it to Detroit. And I was impressed with the way they played. I think they're going to finish better than I expected this year.
If they can get out of their own heads about where they live and what team they're on, and I mean, like, there's a lot of like already some weird stuff happening with players telling already floating numbers out there about what they want on their next contract because of a quote unquote Buffalo tax. There's some dissension in the ranks in Buffalo. If they can keep that out of their brains and just go out and play, I think they have a good shot of making the playoffs. They've had a good shot of making the playoffs the last several years, though. I mean, and that's the problem, right? Like, until you show me something different. However, I think you're right. I think Buffalo came out and this was the first time that Detroit got not only outworked, they got outchanced. And you had a few guys, the Tage Thompsons and all that came out and were able to, like, I don't know, just put on a little bit of a schooling for them young kids and show them, you know, the cycling by Buffalo was fantastic. They hemmed them in. It felt like Detroit couldn't even get out of their zone. Like, they couldn't even get to center to just ice the puck and get another line on. It felt like it was stifling. And you usually see that from teams that are either they're locked in right before the playoffs. That's like a good Florida team or a good Tampa team that'll just like barrage your net. And I felt like there, in a lot of ways, that Detroit didn't have an answer for it, and the youth wasn't used to a team that's so used to relying on the rush like Detroit is with that youth. They didn't have any power forwards to just push the play up the ice.
Well, they did have one. I will point out that Marco Kasper looked really good in that game. And there were times, I would say one of the power plays that Buffalo had, Marco shut that thing down by himself. And I was really impressed with him. Now, I think Lindy Ruff might be to blame for this somewhat because I feel like, he's a veteran. He's got all that experience. I feel like he must have really done a good job preparing his team for the Wings. The other thing that I think is a big factor here is I noticed a lot of the Red Wings that are normally quick, they seemed a little sluggish. Yeah. And so I don't know what happened, but I feel like the Red Wings came in a little tired, a little worn out. And it'll be interesting to see how they respond because I know they will.
Yeah, and you know what I mean? Back-to-backs when you're a young kid is probably going to be a little easier than a back-to-back when you're, 30, 35. So hopefully those young legs can respond. But there's been some questions here. This 5-game streak minus the game against Buffalo has really ignited a lot of conversation around, is this a playoff team? Like a lot of people turning heel and going, wait a second, these guys can do it. All of these pundits who are like, nah, this team, write them off. They're too young. They don't have what it's going to take to make it to the postseason. What do you make of all this? I feel like we kind of take a bit more of a level approach at our teams and we can understand the good and the bad. What do you take from this team so far? Is this an indication of how good the team is over the course of the full year?
Yeah, no, I think we're seeing a team that deserves the playoffs, but deserving and getting there are two different things. Again, I'm going to say it again. They're in the Atlantic Division. So it's a murderer's row. It's very tight. We've seen some of the teams kind of falter a bit, Toronto, Ottawa, Tampa Bay, Florida. So right now they're doing great. As we talked about, Montreal is looking great.
Yeah.
And so Montreal very much deserves that top spot. I think they're destined for great things. So really for the Wings, what they have to do is keep believing. They're going to lose games. Everyone does. So don't let that get in your head. Just know, hey, we had an off night. We're going to go back out there and play our game. That's something McClellan is trying to drive into the players, which is we know our game. It's worked for us. It can keep working for us. You just have to do it. So they're going to have a loss here and there. It's going to happen.
I think there's something to be said about getting outworked by a team like Buffalo, a team that, there's no shame in getting outworked by a Buffalo team that's really, really engaged and they're really trying to take it to you. It wasn't a sloppy game per se on Detroit's end. It just, you were up against a team that was hungrier. And that is a bit of a knock against that game for Detroit. But those games are going to happen. There's going to be games where you don't have your feet under you to start. I'm really curious to see what the future holds for the teams that do have that extra snarl, extra bite when they come up against Detroit, how that's going to play out. And that's usually what causes younger teams to falter as they get closer to the playoffs. When games start to matter a little bit more and no, we need both points walking out of here. Sorry, guys, we're going to have to get a little rough on you.
Oh, yeah. The Wings don't have McCarty. They don't have Chelios. And these guys that they do have, they're very talented, but they don't have that snarl as far as we know. So we're going to find out. But I can tell you, one of the guys that, and I brought this up before, is Marco Kasper. He's got snarl. And he's kind of he doesn't look like a very big guy, but man, he's got it. And so that attitude, I think we're going to see Finney developing his attitude. We're just going to find out. But I am very confident this team can do enough to get in there. It's how far can they go? And they're going to need a little help. They always are going to need a little help. Some of these other teams that have been holding the top spots in the Atlantic Division for a while, they're starting to falter a little bit. We'll see what happens. If they falter a little bit and they can't quite make it this year, that's going to help Detroit a ton.
Yeah, there's some positive things to see. One, and I called this at the beginning of the year, the Leafs are going to struggle this year. And as much as people are like, no, they're fine, they don't seem to have an answer for much. They're quote unquote changing the team DNA, and nobody else got that memo. They're still trying to play the same game they were playing last year without one of the key pieces to that style of game. And I'm not sure. Like I'm a big fan of the Leafs, man. But if they can't get that figured out over the next little while, they're going to find themselves too deep in a hole that they can't dig out of. Their shining star he's looked lost in several games. Austin Matthews has just looked like he's having a tough time out there. He doesn't look injured. He just looks soft in the team.
He had that last year as well.
Yeah. I'm not completely convinced. Do you take Toronto out of the mix? Boston, as far as I'm concerned, should be out of the mix. Florida, I don't think is. Florida's coming back. They're not going to be. I think they're going to be.
Don't count them out.
I think, yeah, if they get healthy, they're going to be scary. But yeah, Montreal, whether or not Montreal gives up the lead in the division for the rest of the year is going to be very interesting.
Yeah, I think they're a lock for the postseason. But as far as Toronto, before we move on, Toronto Stolars, right? He came out and talked about his team. They're frustrated. And I'm going to just say, I feel like a lot of people are questioning Austin Matthews on whether he's really leading that team.
And rightfully so. Like you look at what Anthony Stolarz called out, there's no pushback from the team. And that pushback.
He wasn't wrong.
Yeah. You look at what that pushback signifies. That pushback signifies we're not leaving. We're not done here. When you let people walk into your barn and push you around and slam into your goaltender, torpedo into your goaltender, that's when Anthony Stolarz finally lost his mind. You've got your defenseman standing right in front of you that's basically straight-legged standing there after a guy just torpedoes into you. And Stolarz was just not having it. And the rest of the team was like, I don't, with that response, I don't think the team is going to be very healthy this year.
Well, this is the time where they're being tested. How are they going to respond? So, and that's what I'm asking is it Berube? Is it Matthews? Who's going to step up and shake that team up? I mean, I know that Yzerman was recently doing an interview on the radio, and they asked him for a story that stands out over the years that he was a player. And he was talking about a game against Colorado where he said that, the coach rarely gave them any pep talks or went on a rant or anything, just coached them really well and was that quiet force. But he said before that game, he was letting them know what was on the line, know, because this was going to show, are the Red Wings going to be for real or are they going to fade away? And he said the team responded because they didn't want to let anybody down. They knew what was on the line because he kept repeating himself over and over about how important this game was. So it's like, that's what the Leafs need. They're going to need a little jolt because I'm still a big believer in their talent level. So they've got it.
100%.
They should be able to get in the playoffs, even if it's, squeaking in. They should be able to get into those playoffs. But what are they going to do? Are they just going to falter because they're not believing? Do they not have the energy?
So I look at players like the Tkachuk brothers and like heart and soul players. These are the players that they could literally have both broken legs and they see you run into their goaltender and they're still going to try to knife you with their skate. Like these guys are like live and die by the shirt that's on them. If they have your crest on them, they will literally do anything to make that team a success. And I don't think the Leafs have that. And that's what pains me when you see like guys like Larkin who like they're done losing. They see this youth movement and they're doing everything in their power, not for themselves, but to build the team around them. And that mentality hasn't existed on the Leafs in the Matthews era. And we haven't had a heart and soul guy. I mean, John Tavares, but I mean, you couldn't find a more meek and mild heart and soul guy,
Yeah.
monotone, like, and then Matthews is your leader who, I don't know, it feels like there's a lot of emphasis missing on that team, a lot of like get up and go, because there's nobody to really inspire them. And I don't think Berube is inspiring them anymore. So
Yeah, and it's
sadly,
unfortunate because he's a good coach. But and Matthews, you almost wonder if he has something going on in his personal life because this guy is better than this.
Oh, 100%. He's a phenomenal player. Is he just missing his buddy? Like he's been playing with Marner on his line for, well, since Babs left. So
Yeah, but he was doing this last year. I don't. There's something going.
he
maybe
was
past
he was
all
injured
this.
last year, to be fair. Like they sent him to Switzerland or something in Europe to see a specialist for something that never really came out. A lot of us think it was his wrist. So last year there was a nagging injury. He underperformed with 40 goals. He's supposed to be better this year. He's supposed to be fired up. I don't know. I don't see it. I think there's a lot of room in the Atlantic Division, Murderers Row, still, but I think the teams are changing out. I think Montreal is now part of the Murderers Row. Maybe they're taking Canada's lead role, even away from the Oilers. I could see.
They're the
think
only team I
Montreal's-
can think of that have that fire in them.
Yeah,
I feel it anyway, and I haven't really felt it with the other teams. Even even the Jets, they look really good. They got Jonathan Toews over there now.
yeah.
They should be performing well this year, but I don't know. I feel like Montreal is going to be leading Canada's fight for the cup.
I struggle to put Winnipeg on any kind of pedestal until they show that they can actually get through to the glory land. I don't know, man. They struggle in every way. They seem as snake bitten as Toronto. We'll see.
I know they're snake bit, but they still have one of the best goaltenders in net. Hellebuck.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Hella fraud last year was the joke going around, getting knocked out. All right. We do have to talk. We're taking Gibson off the board here. Gibson has redeemed himself. We still have one kind of elephant in the room, Travis Hamonic. One of the big gets over the last offseason, which a lot of people... This guy got trashed on social media after that first game. Still has only played one game with Detroit Red Wings. There is rumor that they are shopping around to get him a good fit on another team. I think that's a nice way of putting they don't want him in the locker room anymore. First of all, do you think it's necessary already? Like it's dude had one game. Is it necessary that this guy gets just thrown out?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, tonight, 7 p.m. Eastern, Detroit Red Wings in Long Island taking on the Islanders. So that's going to be an interesting another team that's kind of middling, but has had some disappointing performances over the past couple of years. So
Is Patrick
we'll see how
Waugh
that
still
one comes
steering
out.
that ship?
What's that?
Is Patrick Waugh still steering
I
the
believe
ship?
he's still. I haven't touched in with the Islanders. They've been so inconsequential to the NHL.
Well, people
for
keep
the-
waiting for them to do something,
Yeah.
But I
Poke
don't
'em with
know.
the stick.
I don't know if I feel much out of them. But when I was a kid, I was a huge Islanders fan because my favorite player to watch was Mike Bossy.
Oh man, that's a throwback right there. All right, Islanders, Wings tonight, 7 p.m. Eastern. We'll touch base on that next week. Have yourself a great week. Thanks, Aaron.
Thanks for listening. You know you can find us on YouTube as well. Till next time,